Most career stories are told in hindsight, with a neat arc and a triumphant ending. But real pivots, they are messy, they are brave, and they come from a space of discomfort more often than they come from a space of clarity. This series is my attempt to go beneath the surface and find out more about the bold, intelligent shifts that people have taken in their career journeys, not early on, not when the stakes are low, but later in life, when reinvention demands more courage, when more self awareness is required, and often when you end up being at a place where you have to question everything that you thought you ever wanted. I'm Neha, I'm a coach, I'm a strategist, and I'm obsessed with finding out what drives meaningful change when it comes to people's careers. And this is episode 1.
Chetan Bhambri began his career engineering complex systems and solutions, but his real transformation began when he turned his focus inward, trading circuit boards for conversations and performance metrics for human potential. In this episode, we unpack what it really takes to shift gears mid-career, how Chetan navigated the identity shift, and what he's learned about leadership from both sides of the table.
Hi Chetan, how are you?
Hi Neha, I'm very good. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for taking out the time to speak with me.
In fact, I've been looking forward since we spoke about this idea of fear about the pivots. I've been looking forward to this conversation, very close to my heart.
Oracle was the most significant change, right? You spent a lot of time with them, and then that is where coaching kind of came into your space right after Oracle in 2018.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
What did you walk away from when you made that choice?
Yeah, good question. And I used to get that question a lot, Neha. And I used to think about, right? So the metaphor, I'll bring it up being a coach now. So I'll bring a metaphor. So we have these different plants, and some of the plants, they'll grow very well in a pot, right? But all plants grow in the pot? No, right? So, and this is what happens with us humans also. So what I realized that some of the personal values, like I would say autonomy and purpose, they were not being fed being in that environment.
Okay.
I realized that my energy levels are actually going down, which is in turn impacting my progression, not only as a professional, but as a human also. I mean, it's all related, right? We can't differentiate the personal life and the work life. It's integrated. So that was the realization when I sat down and did a reflection and took a decision that okay, need to get out of the pan or the pot and look for an environment where I can grow in the way I want to.
Okay. Your journey, of course, it reads like a master class. No, there is so much reinvention that has happened in your career. But obviously, what I'm interested in, and what I know you are also interested in, is understanding what are the kind of things or what are the decisions that led you to this point. What was going behind the scenes, not just a resume marking of what all has happened, but really what was going on. So I would love to hear it in your words of what your journey has been.
So I turned 50 this year, Neha, and around, I would say 5, 6 years back, when I was into career for almost 20 plus years and been as a corporate leader. And at some point, I realized that the conventional career progression, now if you think about what's the standard conventional career progression, you climb the ladder in the same role, or maybe the same function, or at max the same industry. That's we all typically have seen. But what I realized that that's something which is no longer giving me energy. So if I think about getting to the next step in that role or that function or that industry, it wasn't giving me energy. So I start thinking more about it, what to do. And at that point, it was even more, I would say, alien to get into a different career. And now if we look around in the industry, there are some industry like sports, athletes, or military, in which the career pivots are just necessary. They just happen. You see sports people at the age of they have to make a pivot, right? As a commentator or a different profession. But if you look around the corporate, it's not very common. The corporate expectation is you keep on growing the ladder. And that's what was playing in my mind also. And you see other people climbing the ladder and then start questioning, Why don't you want to do it? So all that was going on. And then the stage came, then I took a call that, okay, I'm going to make a switch. And that's where I made a step out from the corporate leadership. I had some idea, explore it, and then it's a journey to today, and which still continue in the future also, Neha. So,
Yeah.
And we'll discuss more about it in the podcast. But that's what really happened to
Okay.
me. Yeah.
Okay. So growing in the way you want to was something that you chose, and not having to be stuck in a space which was draining your energy was something that you kind of did not want to do any longer.
Exactly. And so we all have heard about that, the frog in the frying pan.
Yeah.
So slowly heating, and what's really happening. And then, we choose to be in that state of discomfort than making a change. Because because that's slowly happening, but we don't realize that it's draining so much energy out of it. We get burnout, we get stagnated, and then we don't have energy left to even jump out of the pan. So I jumped out of the pan without my energy was drained out. Yeah.
And what would you attribute the drain to? Was it the people? Was it the work? What was it?
Alignment of my personal values. So after working for 20-25 years, I believe I could make a bigger impact.
Okay.
Not only in that role, but beyond that. So helping others in their journey, helping others in their career journey, professional journey, and in my way. I think that's a very important aspect for me in the way which I want to do it. And I think that was not happening in that environment. Again, there are different people who flourish in different environments.
Of course.
So, and this question keep on coming back, right? You see, you've got your peers, you've got your colleagues who are flourishing in that environment. So why can't you?
But the question, why can't you, in itself also sounds a little bit. It's a little cold, no? Cold and judgmental that, oh, why can't you do it? But I love how beautifully you explain the fact that it's not that you can't do it, it's just that you don't want to. It is no longer satisfying.
Yeah. I mean, you put a mango plant sapling in a small pot and you expect it to give the fruit. Not going to happen.
Yeah. So you needed a bigger canvas.
Yeah.
And then when you started to move away, or I'm guessing there must have been a point where there was this realization that this is no longer fun, it is no longer satisfying, it is not something that I want to do. What was if you could explain the process to me of landing on what the next thing should be?
Yeah. So I think even before we go there, Neha, so maybe you've read the book Self as a Coach, Self as a Leader from Pamela McLean.
I haven't. No.
So she talks about a metaphor, walking into dark.
Okay.
And when we are doing a pivot, it's like walking into dark because you don't know, there's no set path there. Yes. If you know the path, it's not a pivot, I will say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So it feels like a dark, walking into dark. You don't know what's in the front. And it was exactly same for me also. What kept me going? Firstly, I think while the support of your family, friends, mentor, coaches is crucial, but I think what really helped is having a coach who could be non-judgmental to what you're doing. Because your family, friends will always think about keeping you safe, keeping you risk-free. That's what they have in their mind going on.
Right.
And in the process, they get judgmental sometimes. And that's where I think a coach plays a very important role, which help you kind of see through the dark. And it was a discovery for me. It took a time. Okay. So firstly, it was maneuvering that dark, which was coming. And then secondly, what kept me going, first thing, I was very clear why I'm doing it. And I used to remind me all the time why I'm doing it. Because if you are doing a pivot, but then again, you're not aligning with your North Star, we'll lose the track somewhere. So it's very important to keep in mind what your North Star is, why you're doing that. Second, try not to run out of the ideas. And I think we all think that for doing something different, you need a lot of finance. While finance is important, what I've realized, running out of ideas is even more bad than running out of finance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got idea, you can manage everything else. But the day you feel like, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
That's a real challenge. And yeah, use your support system. I would say go beyond your inner circle. Go to the next circle where you can probably find a coach. You can probably find someone who has already taken that pivot. That could be really helpful.
Yeah, I understand. When we look at this is a marketing concept, but I think it applies here very well. Whenever you're looking at launching a product, which is what pivoting is, right? You're launching yourself all over again. It's generally the 4 W's in H, which is what, where, why, when, and how. So, which question out of these, I think, did you answer first for yourself?
I think first one for me is always why. Again, coming from my value of purpose, right? So why is very important for me.
Okay.
That is something non-negotiable for me. So why was important. Then I think then maybe the when part of it. And I think that's something which you brought very appropriate while this is the topic, right? The 40s. So the when I realized, the more I delay doing a pivot, more it will become difficult for me. It's not going to become easier.
Yeah.
We think about, I'm already late in making a pivot, but if you don't do it now, you'll keep on getting more and more late. So if you now is the time.
Now is the time. Yeah, I completely agree. Now is always the time.
Yeah.
And so the what was clear. You wanted to help someone, like you said, you wanted to help people, you wanted to kind of share your knowledge and make them, enjoy their careers more, or have a more satisfying career. How did you land at the where next?
It was a continuous exploration, Neha, I would say. While I had some idea, so few things which I had planned, that I'll gain some new knowledge, some new experience in the new field where I'm getting into. So that was one part of it.
Okay.
Getting the opportunities, one thing, I think I was very open to going out, meeting people in the new field. And all have a doubt that how will it work. I was pleasantly surprised that people are ready to help you with the experience you bring in. So
Yeah. When you are sitting on the other side of the table as a coach, and you are talking to people, possibly, people who are in an earlier space in their journey, because you have worked in other fields as well. So there is an understanding or an empathy with what is happening at all times.
Yeah.
So has there been a couple of trends or a couple of bits that you have noticed which does come up in your clients across the board?
very broad, and I typically work with the clients from technology background, or the GCCs, or the startup founders. This is my kind of niche. And the broad trends, I'll start from there. I see one is the from technology to maybe the non-technical part of it, because sometimes, the pace of technology does not align with the values a person has.
Okay.
That's one broad. So changing the field itself, getting into, like what happened to me. So I came from a technology background, and today I'm, all into coaching and leadership development and helping others. So that's one very broad. We see a lot of it, especially in Bangalore. I being in Bangalore, I see a lot of that trend. Second trend is a change of location, which I see, and which so I interestingly did all of them. So I changed the field also. I changed the location also from Delhi to Bangalore. And sometimes I think it's the place when you feel that, okay, I'm in technology, but I'm in a city where you don't have too many opportunities. Then you want to change the city, and that also, I would say, it's not easy in 40s because you've got your kids, who are teens,
Yeah.
who maybe in the board exams and shifting them, and I've gone through all of them journey. It's not easy. That brings in complication, and then that's what stops you. Should I move alone? Should I move my family? When should I move my family? All that complications come. I think that's where I like the topic when you brought it up, Neha. 40s is very complex time. 30s. So I'll remember I used till 30s when I used to move from one city to other city anywhere in the world. I used to have one bag. That's it. I can move in a day.
Yeah.
It's a story when you're in 40s with the kids grown up.
Yeah.
So yeah, coming to your question, first is the industry. So being in one industry, then you feel it's no more growth which can happen. It will no more align with me. So a pivot, a location, you feel that this location cannot help you grow, the pivot. And I think thirdly, which comes from the economic situation. So now a lot of changes, economic downturn, business model change, that sometimes force us to make a change from for a location or for an industry or for a career. So I would broadly say these three. Yeah.
So risk of comfort, risk of opportunity, and risk of finances. Like, yeah. So if you were to say that pivoting is essentially, we could say that all our fears when we are trying to make a new move are connected to these three, which is, will I be comfortable enough in the new space? Will I be will it be financially viable for me to do it? And is this the right opportunity? Which one do you think, or which one in your experience you gave the most weightage to?
Yeah, and I think there's one more, Neha. I missed that. So
Yeah.
in 40s, where you typically have 20, 22, 25 year of experience, we all have created a professional identity for ourselves. Like it happened in my, so I was like a go-to person in my organization, in my field, and it gives you a lot of good feeling, feel good, right? And it's very difficult to make a change now. So that's also which stop someone in 40s to make the pivot. But coming back to your question, I think for me it was about the core was the why part, aligning, doing something which aligned me with my values, and I can do and progress for next 20 years.
Ah.
So
So
if
where,
I think, yeah.
so where you started from was to say, this work is not satisfying anymore, so what should I do next? And then what I want to do next, does that have enough financial capability to, to make it lucrative for me to join? And then location didn't really play that much of a role?
It did. You're right. So Bangalore, being in technology,
Um,
and we have lived earlier in Bangalore. UAE, Abu Dhabi came. I never planned for it. That just happened. But Bangalore was kind of in the back of mind that uh, that could be the place to go to. But I think there was a detour to Abu Dhabi again. I did not. Again, that's the 40s complexity,
yes.
right? I did not stay there because my daughter was in 10. So
Ah.
how will that happen? I should be there with the family. So all that was also coming. So I decided to came back and then came to Bangalore. So
Yeah, you're right. So in a way, there are so many in your 40s when you are trying to say, let me do something completely different in my life. It's not like the endless amount of choices that you might have in your 20s when you're single, unmarried, without children, whatever. The world is your oyster, you can do everything.
yeah.
But interestingly, I feel like the endless choices might be more overwhelming. And this, because it has a construct, this I can't do, sorry, because it doesn't fit in my life. This I can do. Do you think it ever helped to be in that situation?
So I look at this, if you look at the onion, the innermost
Layer.
layer is the personal strengths I have, which are inherent, the talent or the strength, right? And then you, based on that and based on the external factors and based on your uh, society, we acquire the skills. But at some point we realize the skills which we acquire for last 10, 15, 20 years are not aligning with the
With
right
what world needs, yeah.
rights. And then, so I think for me, it was very clear. Whatever I do, I have to align with the inner layer of my talent, my strengths, and I have to build upon it. And that's what I did. Because so in my, and it's very personal, but when I work with my clients, this is what we discuss about. See, again, skills can change rapidly, especially in today's time. Gen AI, agentic AI, and it will keep on changing. And it's very difficult if we try to define our identity with that layer now, because then it's very difficult. Yes, the options, we will feel the options. To coming back to your point, Neha, we will feel the options are more, but then again, are we looking at only the speed? What about the direction?
Yeah, that's a good line. Are we looking at only speed? We have to look at direction as well. And when you have decided the direction, your speed also a lot of times might be defined by external factors, in the sense that what is your family's view on this whole thing? Is it easy for you to get out of your current career decision? Does it make sense to do that? Which one do you think, or what was the one learning that you got from the external factors that kind of came into all of this?
I was watching one of your videos, Neha, in fact, and you talk
Uh,
about the dip, right?
yeah,
In
yeah,
the product, right? That's very
yeah,
similar with the career. So I think we all need to be aware when you're making a pivot, there most likely be a dip.
yeah, yeah.
And we need to acknowledge that, and we need to be aware that this is our dip. This is not your trajectory. Trajectory will come,
Right.
but you're in a dip. It's a change cycle also, right? So you need to accept it and then get back to the trajectory. Again, it was, you are already established leader in your field,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So I mean, are you going to make a switch even if you have to go at a lower pay scale,
mm,
even if you have to change the city?
mm.
uh, and I was fine with it because I was very clear about the purpose and my trajectory over next 20 years. So but that is something which we all have to overcome if we have to make a pivot.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true. So possibly the learning in that case would have been something towards the fact that that dip will come. You just have to get
Welcome.
used to the fact that it will come, and you have to be okay with what is the level of the dip, for the lack of a better term, right? You have to be okay with how bad will it get before it gets better.
Yeah, and good point. And how bad do we feel about it? I think that's
Yeah,
also,
that's
yeah,
yeah, that's true.
the
We
core
have
thing.
to we have to be very, very sure of how bad we are going to feel about it before we do it. That's very true. And when you were finally, you made the change, you've gone into the new space, and um, after whatever some amount of learning, there has been some success that has come. Was there any takeaway from that process? Like when you finally got your first, let's say your first client or your first success, was it like, yeah, this is what has gone right and this is what I could have done better? Was there any learning?
Make the small wins also as success. Don't wait for something big to happen and celebrate it.
Of course, yeah,
It will take time.
yeah,
What I learned, as I was saying about the small, so keep the ideas running and celebrate all that small wins.
yeah,
Could be very small, could be even talking to someone whom you don't know. That's
yeah.
itself an accomplishment.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
right?
A great
Yeah,
conversation can make your day.
exactly. So celebrate that. So look for each small. That's what will keep you going, and that will also give you more ideas.
True. That's true.
So keep open for that small wins. Celebrate them, and I think it's a journey. I would say I've come from maybe here to here in my
Hmm.
journey last 6, 7 years,
Hmm.
but I still think I'm here. I need to get there,
Yeah.
and I think that's kind of the biggest learning for me. If I think that okay, I've come from here to here, and I think I'm static here, then the reflection needs to happen.
We
But
need to change. Yeah.
yeah, so I think that's the biggest learning for me.
Yeah, that's such a great viewpoint, right? You just shift your focus. Instead of thinking how far I have to go, think, oh wow, there is so much more to see. So it's so much
Exactly,
better.
exactly.
Yeah, that's great. And let's talk a little bit about what were some of the missteps that you can today laugh back at and saying, I did that? What
Yeah,
would be?
yeah. The first one, I thought it would be very easy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So, I've got this experience, I've got these skills, I'm doing some learning, I'm meeting some people, it will all work out in 3 months and then it will all
Yeah.
be good. I think it's very important for, again, coming to 40s.
Mm.
And I think this is a mistake I did. It's very important to enroll your family into your decision here.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because especially if you're changing the cities, because that's going to be disruption not only for you, for them also.
Aha.
The belief which kept me going is that, okay, what I'm doing is not for me, it's for my family. And they might not realize at that point of time. And it happens with all of us, right? So sometimes we feel that, okay, this is what is happening is not good for me today. But then if you look back, they say, no, you can only connect the dots when you look back.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to
Hindsight
connect
is
the
best
dots.
vision.
Yeah. So I think, but it's very, and it becomes very tricky also, Neha, because we ourselves are in a transition. We
Mm.
ourselves are in dark. But at the same time, we also have to be patient with our family members,
Mm.
spouse, kids, because, I mean, I know direction why I'm making,
Mm.
but probably they won't understand till time I know. And it's very unpractical to expect from them that they should support me, whatever. That's just not human, I would say.
Yeah.
I think that's the second biggest learning for me. And I'm still learning. I don't have a winning formula for it,
Yeah.
but at least I share this with the clients and it helped them plan it, be more patient, and make
Yeah.
it part of their plan.
Mm.
I think I would say these two. And I think one thing, if someone is changing the cities,
Uh-huh.
give it 3 years.
Yeah. A
It
new
take
city will need 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it take 3 years for you to settle down, build a community, and then you'll see the progress. So be patient for first 3 years. Yeah.
Mm. I loved it. I love having this conversation with you, and this is a good point for us to kind of leave the message that all you really need to do is just shift focus, and it might look very different. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chetan, for your time, and I would love to have another chat at this after you've made your next pivot, and we'd love to know what you've been up to. Yeah.
Sure, Maya. I had a great time in this conversation. So
Thank
all
you.
the best for to more power to you to enable more and more in their 40s to pivot. I
Yeah,
hope this podcast will help them.
I hope so too. Thank you so much, and
Thank you.
I'll speak to you soon.